details and look for the Ultimate Season Ticket giveaway graphic on the homepage of our website. No matter where you are, here, Florence, Myrtle Beach, go to 107.5 The Game. Look for the Ultimate Season Ticket giveaway graphic on the homepage of our website, 107.5 The Game, and you can learn more there. It is your chance to win season tickets to everyone, South Carolina home football, baseball, women's basketball, and men's basketball tickets. And again, brought to you by the Men's Clinic. 803-404-6100. If you hear something you want to weigh in with this morning. And Preston Thorne, you want to get into new wide receiver coach Mike Furry, who transitions in. I think it's fair to say he transitions in for Justin Stepp, who is a local fan favorite, grew up playing over in Pillion with his brother, was well known. There was a lot of hoopla when he came back home. I think he did a good job of developing wide receivers. There was some hits and misses on the recruiting trail, but Justin Stepp goes off to Illinois after being demoted to tight ends coach.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
100%.
So after being demoted to tight ends
no
coach,
wide receivers coach wants to coach tight ends.
Right. And we should, I guess, really say he was demoted for a guy who came in, looked around at his office, kind of looked around, was like, what other jobs are open?
I believe he was on campus for 47 days.
There you go. Yeah, so, yeah.
Don't even remember his name. James Cooley?
James Coley.
Coley. Yep,
there you go.
Gotcha.
So demoted for him. Coley goes out. I think by that time, Justin Stepp, if I remember the timeline exactly correct, Justin Stepp had moved on to Illinois. We ended up with Mike Furry.
Which, again, as I told you in the break, I'm getting an inordinate amount of Fighting Illini tweets in my algorithm now, which I love you, Justin. Gonna have to put a mute on that, though. I'm good. I'm good with that. But yes, now we have Mike Furry, who himself, very aggressive tweet. I've run the analytics, Bill. On his daily tweets, he has 28 emojis. 28 emojis. That is he has exclamation points, chickens, Spurs up signs, numbers, clocks. If his tweets are anything like his coaching style, his players better watch out.
Aggressive.
He's very aggressive. He seems like he comes into the building, maximum energy all the time. He's
all
a guy.
Caps a lot of the time too.
Yes, a lot of caps. So it's like, Coach, you're screaming at me. He's a guy that has a lot of energy. So if you're not an energy guy, I would imagine this is going to be a little bit of an adjustment for you.
No, he is. The few clips I've heard of him talking when he was at Limestone, motivational, spiritual, kind of that kind of guy that is going to bring. It's going to be interesting because we talked about it a little bit. Now there's also an ego here. I think anybody that goes and plays in the NFL and is able to get themselves that far up in the professional ranks of playing in the NFL, also coach there.
Also, by the way, played offense and defense in the NFL. Played both sides of the ball successfully, which is a wild flex on anybody.
So, to me, this is a guy that's another piece to this room that I think is going to be vocal on what he sees. And we've already talked about that with Sean Elliott. And, Dow Loggins. Not that I don't think Dow Loggins isn't vocal, but when you hear Dow Loggins speak, it's more of the scientific approach and the analytics approach a little bit as to what he sees and what he's got to do, whereas you've got Sean Elliott, who's just red-faced and just, all right, we're going to hit somebody. We're just going to hit him, and we're going to run it, and we're going to hit him again, and we're going to go.
A more aggressive tweeter, I don't know. Mike Furry or Sean Elliott. Those two are going to be in the running for who's going to out-energy the other person.
Yeah.
They are both coming to practice sprinting.
Yeah.
Saying let's go and different variations of that phrase.
And then you've got poor Lonnie Teasley, who's just quiet and laid back. It's like, I think he's quiet and laid back. I'm sure on the practice field. Preston, do you ever have a football coach that was on the field quiet and laid back? I mean, they might be in public's eye very calm, very chill. But when you get on that field, coaches turn it up several notches.
Some do. Some are not as animated. Some can slice you like a paper cut, and you be like, "Oh God, I can't believe you just said that to me." That was pretty rough. So it depends. You just don't want to coaching out of their personality because you can smell that a mile away. If you're not Mike Fury. I want this out of Mike Fury because that's him. But if that's not you, then players will find that totally fake. So if that's not you, you don't need to act like that. And you need different types of coaches on the staff to get messages across.
Again, he had done fairly well in the recruiting trail. Brian Rowe, he did not technically land Jaden Sellers, but he now has Jaden Sellers in his fold as a recruit. And then obviously Lex Cyrus, the one that you were very excited that he went up and just stole from Penn State.
That's right.
Took out from we NIL'd them into the ground. Did not land Malik Clark last week, which was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. But
did we get NIL'd into the ground by Florida State?
Who knows?
That's the flow chart, but that's how it works.
Whatever. Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
you know how
the very first one.
Yeah.
But it is going to be interesting because he inherits a group. I'm trying to define what I think the offensive line is like, and what I think the wide receivers are like. I've got Rocket Sanders if he's healthy, which they say he is. We know he's a proven SEC back. Oscar Attaway III is a proven college back from his days at North Texas. Juwan Howell, maybe not proven yet, but is a guy that at least the people we've talked to, and again, I'm speaking for myself, not speaking for you, but Juwan Howell's a guy that at least from people you know that you spoke with are very high on. He's a young player. People got to remember, Juwan Howell, if he doesn't play a whole lot in the first 6 games or first 8 games, he's still a pup.
Right.
He's still learning it. Juju McDowell's been around college football forever. And then you throw in DJ Braswell and Matthew Fuller. The wide receivers, though, are about the biggest unknown for me because on the offensive line, I at least look at it, me personally, and I'm like, well, you've got some elite on paper, on the recruiting paper. You've got some elite talent there in 5-star Josiah Thompson battling for a spot with high 4-star Tree Babalade, who played last year, Trovon Ball, Marquis Anderson. You got your experienced guys in Vershawn Lee. You've got Ja'Kai Moore back. You got a transfer in Torricelli Simpkins, who, again, you know a former coach of his personally who has raved about him. Aaron Park comes in from Oklahoma. That is a guy that we'll see what he can do. So, to me, the offensive line, this is more of like can they stay healthy and are they well coached? That's my things with those. Like, I feel like after this year, we're going to look at Lonnie Teasley and be like, okay, you had some ingredients here to cook with. What did you do?
Yeah, strangely enough, we know more people on the offensive line than the receiver room, maybe even the tight ends, because those are some new guys also. Oddly enough, the offensive linemen are the names on this offense, aside from Lenora Sellers. The wide receivers are unknowns, whether it's be through transfer or they're just young or guys that haven't gotten a lot of player time. There's literally nobody that we know, and I do think that's interesting. We know Nick Harbor. We know Nick Harbor's exploits. We joked during the intro that Nick Harbor is getting a lot of national attention now because he's not ranked. He has a 99 speed in the football game, so a lot of people are paying him attention. He's tall. I get all of that. We have yet to see him develop his receiving skills yet, and that's going to be the step that he needs to take. Yeah,
and I mean, you got a mixture of young guys in Mazio Bennett, Tyshawn Russell, who's only a sophomore. You've got DeBron Gatling, who is a guy that from Georgia, who they flipped from Texas A&M after the Jimbo Fisher situation. You got Vandravius Jacobs, who comes in as a transfer, but again, redshirt freshman. You've got these guys, but then you've also got a mixture of older players. Gage Larvindane, who's technically a senior. He's listed as a senior. At this point, I have no clue what senior means, 5th year, 6th year, whatever. Amari Huggins-Bruce is, again, a senior and has been around. Jared Brown is a redshirt freshman. Delvon Campbell is a 6th-year player. It's a really odd mixture of wide receivers here because it's young pups trying to figure it out, and it's older guys who have been around the college game, maybe not at South Carolina, but have been around the college game for a while.
Yeah, and that's going to make for an interesting contest. And what I've said is that this is an actual open competition for these positions. Now, I mean, we haven't seen anything in the summer to indicate differently, so I would imagine the depth charts will be interesting to see, and this might be something that plays out over the course of fall camp. You have to see who takes a step back, who takes a step forward, who becomes a leader in the room. And also Mike Fury's coaching on this level for the first time. So he's going to have to figure out what it's like to coach in the SEC also.
Yeah, again, it's a thing with the wide receivers that's probably, if we were to ask you to talk about the scariest position on the team, that's the one. Because there's nothing there. I mean, again, Larvin Dane had some really nice numbers at Miami of Ohio. Amari Huggins-Bruce had some nice numbers at Louisville. Delvon Campbell had some nice numbers at Nevada. None of those did I say they had them last year with the University of South Carolina. Jared Brown at Coastal, again, some really nice numbers. It's a different-looking receiving room now, and now that's going to be every time that we can get some kind of offensive report from Dow Loggins or when Mike Furry talks. All right, what did the wide receivers do?
Yeah, and
it's honestly going to be for me the two things. Are the offensive linemen still healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And then what did the wide receivers look like?
Yeah, and also we don't know of somebody who's a home run hitter. I mean, we looked at what Xavier Legette did last year. Obviously, I don't see any first-round picks in the room. That's just based on, but who knows if that would have been Xavier Legette before the season. So who knows? But he had the ability to take a pass over the middle, break it for 60 yards, for 70 yards. I don't know if that guy exists. And again, only reason I'm saying I don't know they exist is because we haven't seen any of these dudes actually play in SEC football. So we'll see.
803-404-6100. It's the early game.
Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone-on-bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. So learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, and restore mobility, and give you long-term relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. The local professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back together with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine. So call now for a free consultation at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
Just one accident out there that's being worked on Monticello Road at Frost Mill Road. And that forecast for you, we are keeping an eye on the tropics, but also partly cloudy, 93 for the high today. Tomorrow, a high of 97, heat index of 110. Thursday, upper 90s, heat index of 111, and could be as high as 112 come Friday. Then we see some afternoon and evening storms to take us through the remainder of the weekend, but it's a little bit milder start right now, 72 on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. This is your Olympic update. We'll be updating the Olympics throughout the show throughout the week because guess what? This only happens once every 4 years, so who knows if we'll be here again if this ever happens, so we're going to take advantage of it. And, Bill, let's just start with this proposition. A'ja Wilson's the most dominant athlete in the world. And I don't know if I'm sure there's somebody who dominates in some very niche sport somewhere. They're the 10-time pickleball champion of the Southeast Conference. There might be a fencing juggernaut out there. But if we're talking what we would consider major sports, A'ja Wilson is the pinnacle of all of it. And there's not any other metric. There's not any metrics in which you cannot make this argument. Whatever you want to say, winning, individual accolades.
So you're saying most current dominant, most current.
Yeah, that's the most dominant.
Yeah. I'm just.
We're not saying the most dominant ever. It's the most dominant means now because those people aren't playing anymore.
Right.
So the most dominant athlete in the world is A'ja Wilson. Now, obviously, it'd be tough to get a lot of argument or pushback from that in Columbia, South Carolina, as we are obviously biased because she is ours and we would claim her. It was so cool to look on the USA website, the USA basketball website, and see A'ja Wilson, 27 years old, which, by the way, whoa, that means you, I, all of us aging.
Well,
and to see,
hold on. Well, go ahead with that, and then I might throw you a wild curveball that I thought about yesterday when I saw the dominance of this.
To see that name and to see Hopkins, South Carolina as the hometown, that is awesome. To see that be so closely associated with us is amazing. And to see her shine like this on the world stage is going to be really cool because they are going to, barring complete disaster, win the gold medal.
Well, no, what is it? They've won 56 straight?
56 games. They haven't lost since 1992.
Yeah, so they should.
So I said catastrophe.
Right.
Strike.
Right. And again, I completely with COVID and then moving the Olympics to 2021. And I totally forgot about that yesterday when I put out the tweet that she's going to win at every level. Like, this is, you and I have talked about it, about people who live up to the hype, just absolutely live up to it. And you see what she's done, both down here at Heathwood Hall. We know what she did at the University of South Carolina. We now know what she's doing for the Las Vegas Aces.
Two-time champion.
Now we know what she's doing again in the gold here in the Olympics.
Gold medal. Well, one time and presumptive.
Yeah.
We don't want to make this a coronation, but presumptive gold medal winner.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yesterday, for what it's worth, real quick, 102-76, the women's team win. 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks, 4 assists in that ball game for her. And I kind of debated this with myself yesterday, which if you drove past me and I was talking to myself in a car by myself, I apologize. But it's one of those things where she, I think, is the face of the WNBA. Now, right now, you've got the intrigue of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. But that's different than being the face. LeBron James is still the face of of NBA. But Wembanyama is kind of the intrigue, right? Like, he might be Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese might be the future. Asia Wilson is the here and now, and it really blew up to me because yesterday, as I'm kind of on Twitter and scrolling, she's got a very open article in Rolling Stone magazine that talks about the WNBA and life and just all these things, changing everything. And not only all that, but it also talked about specifically like the things she's doing outside of basketball. Reminded me a little bit of a certain head basketball coach who's currently here in Columbia and doing big things. And kind of thought, how long can we get Dawn to hold on before Asia's ready to retire?
I'm just talking. Okay, I like it.
I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, but anyway, it's got a great picture of her. It says Asia Wilson on the growth of women's basketball, and she said, if you'd have told me would you eventually have sold out arenas, I would have probably laughed. And that's the headline if you go to Rolling Stone magazine, and it's a culture article, and it's really, really well done. It really showcases her in a great light. Really good. If you can go and check it out. Says 5 WNBA superstars talk about sellout crowds, the evolution of the game, and the Olympics. But it also goes on to really talk a lot about Asia Wilson and her. She's the feature of the article.
There was an article also, speaking on that same path, there was an article in Yahoo Sports that posed the question, is Asia Wilson already the GOAT of women's basketball? Not will she be, not is her future, is she already the GOAT of women's basketball? And there was a compelling argument that was made for this. And again, when you look at every single layer of the cake, winning, individual accolades, outside appearances, all of those different types of things, it makes her, number one, the main ambassador for maybe USA basketball, period, and women's basketball for sure. And then you get into all those things. You have to say maybe she already is the GOAT, and she's 27 years old. Which, if you're around here, that might make you feel a little bit old, but that is getting into her athletic prime. And based on what we've seen some other women do, mainly Diana Taurasi. I don't know if Asia would plan. Doesn't strike me that Asia would want to play till she's 40. That seems like a very long time away. She has other interests, I think, but. She's just now getting into her prime as far as athletics are concerned. So this run of dominance does not have an end to it right now.
No, I mean, she's, again, she's in her exact prime. Now, the Aces this year, they're not what they've been.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually 5th in the league right now. The New York Liberty are 21-4, but they'll have to make a little run when they get back for her to get a third straight.
This strikes me as the team that has won a lot and maybe set up similar to the Kansas City Chiefs last year.
Okay.
What's going on with them during the regular season? Are they bored? Can they get it together? What's the deal? But when they get into the playoffs, nobody wants to see Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, or any of those women. So good luck to you if you've worked really hard to get a high seed and draw this lower seed team with the most dominant player in the world.
Yeah, they'll look again, as you just mentioned. It would be a bit of a shocker if they don't go on to win the Olympic gold medal.
A bit. It'd be a catastrophe. It'd be the biggest story in the Olympics.
It'd be one of the biggest upsets in Olympics history. It'd be up there with, unfortunately, the
Bill,
one that
they have not lost a game since 1992.
I was going to say it would be up there with Miracle on Ice and other things. Not in the good way for us. But the question will be if she gets the MVP, because then you kind of go, all right, what else can you do? What else can you do? But good for her. Good game yesterday for them. We'll tell you some more about Olympics coming up later on in the program. JC Shurburtt due up in about 20 minutes. But up next, we got another album that we got to review.
A little bit of a departure here, Bill. A little bit of a departure. We're going French metal, Gojira. I can't wait. We have a departure. We're taking advantage of the Olympics. French metal. So if you're into metal, death metal, ride metal, rhythm metal, let's go. Gojira.
You're not going to want to miss that, I don't think. 803-404-6100 is the early game.
You know what? I so got into the song from Maverick that I just was like in my own little world. Yep, it's good.
A little bit different flavor here. Incoming.
The song that I can't even pronounce, so let's try it.
The studio's not safe, man. Don't start bobbing around like that. We got enough issues with equipment.
That is Gojira. And if you're not familiar with Gojira like I wasn't, they were the heavy metal band that you saw playing with Marie Antoinette's severed head in the Olympics. And so I got curious. I said, what's going on with this crew? Apparently they are Grammy nominated. They have a mix of different types of heavy metal: black metal, death metal, speed metal, doom metal, gothic metal, drone metal, prog metal, and most importantly, Bill, spiritual metal.
Okay.
So when you listen to Gojira, you'll hear the dudes doing the Cookie Monster, but then the voices, the words that they're saying are things like, if you change yourself, you can change the world. God is a beautiful thing. And it's all of this really hard, aggressive, aggro music that I feel is missing. Again, I'm going back to Anthrax from yesterday. I like aggression, aggressive music, and not necessarily what you would expect from the French.
Okay.
Right? Heavy metal is not a thing you would expect coming out of France. But Gojira is a heavy metal band out of France. And from what I understand, when I went down my path yesterday, a lot of folks in the metal community were super excited to see themselves represented on the large stage. And nothing could be more metal than blood, pyro, guitars, drums, and opera. It was wild scene, but I'm into it, man. I don't know if anybody I might be speaking to one person.
You were into
now.
it, or this got you into it?
I'm into it now.
Okay, so this
Never heard of them before this.
All right.
Never heard of them before this, but now I'm here. Gojira, which is a loose translation for Godzilla. Couldn't use that for copyright reasons, obviously. And so now they are known as Gojira. Grammy nominated. This was from the album. That song was Severa. Grammy nominated. Very cool. I like metal. I'm here. If anybody's texting in, 803-404-6100. Any metal fans out there, holla at your boy.
Seth said, okay, I get into my car to hear Gojira, so apparently he knew it. Congratulations to that.
My guy.
He said, I had to make sure I wasn't on another station of the intro. Ernest with a little bit of a confusing tweet to me, says, that is Bill Gunner right there. Preston sounds like he is a real headbanger.
I'm not, but I can be because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Especially when I started listening to the lyrics, man. You got to get through the Cookie Monster of it, but it's like really enlightening things, and it's all this really positive music.
Really? Okay. See, that's what I was curious: is where are the lyrics in all of this? Can you actually decipher them?
Well, kind of. You gotta kind of read along, but it's a lot of like.
What do you mean read along? You got to have the lyrics up in front of you on the phone?
Yeah, you might want to read along. You know, again, I'm very new to the genre, so I can't. My ears are not trained.
Metalese.
Yes, my ears are not trained for it. But when you do listen to it, and then I didn't know there was all these different types of metal. So that was Gojira, and we're gonna make a little departure since we're in France for the week. We'll be listening to some music from the French. So rest of the week we'll have M83, we'll have Phoenix. We'll have Daft Punk coming throughout the rest of the week. So we will have some, but the oddest combination I thought was heavy metal, really heavy music from Gojira with the French. Bill?
Just wait, you just said, so we're taking a heavy metal
No, not a heavy metal, just French.
Just French.
Just French. Since we're here for the Olympics, we're going to listen to some French music. So we'll listen to some other pioneers of more music you would associate with French. Dance, house, fun stuff, clubby type things. I don't necessarily associate.
Not looking for any like French musicals or anything like that.
Yeah.
Maurice Chevalier.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe we should go some Les Mis rap.
Bill's like,
maybe we should go. Bill, what's your take on Les Mis?
I didn't think we could go down a path where I had less information, but it turns out we did. So
Sorry.
what this means now is from about 6:50 to about 7 o'clock, I can go
Take a
grab.
nap.
I can take a nap. I can refill my water cup here, and just let you two
Les Mis.
never have no clue of the plot line, the story. Couldn't name a character. Never seen it. It's a play, right? But they turned it into a live action movie play. Am I
Correct.
Something like that.
Correct.
Well, I knew something in that segment that was impressive. We'll see if we can top it with the next segment.
There's a few older movies that I know of just because my parents were older. So, I was exposed to more older movies.
Shout out to all my heavy metal folks. Send in any suggestions. I'm here. Gojira. It's the early Gateway Bill.
If you had that on
Gotta
your
work on
bingo
my voice.
card.
My vocals not great.
Oh, dear.
Working on it.
Bill Gunner for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, First Palmetto Bank is ready to help you with quick and precise underwriting. With these local decision makers, you can get the answers you need, and right now, you can have a great potential if you are in Richland County for a phenomenal product. It is the Community Reinvestment Product in Richland County. So if you're living out in Richland County right now, you need to call Jacob Crowder today and learn more about this. 803-719-1005. Again, it is the Community Reinvestment Product in areas in Richland County. Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor are areas that are offering the 4.99% interest with a 5.05 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You heard that all right. For more information, call the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, today. 803-719-1005.
Monticello Road at Frost Mill Road, an accident has been found there. Also working one I-26 westbound just after the exit 101, that Broad River Road Valentine exit. Again, that's I-26 westbound there at exit 101. And that forecast, 93 for the high today. Then the heat really ramps up for Wednesday through Friday, looking for heat indexes around 110. So it's going to be warm for sure through the rest of the week starting tomorrow. And then some afternoon and evening storms coming in Saturday and Sunday and into Monday as well. Right now, though, 72 on the early game.
7 a.m. as we get you up and get you going here on a Tuesday morning. The countdown is on, and we're going to talk a little bit about that this hour with J.C. Shurburtt for what is really a big weekend for South Carolina football, be it that they're starting preseason camp coming up on Friday or a big recruiting weekend for the Gamecocks as it pertains to three of the more high-end prospects and hoping to land signatures from at least two of them, I think would be fair to do. So we'll get into that. We've been talking a little Olympics this morning. Asia Wilson with a monstrous day yesterday over in France. 24 points, 13 rebounds. Women just continue to roll. And I do, as we continue to take notice, I think it's fair to say, and I might be late to the game on this, Preston, that she is now, I think, becoming the greatest South Carolina athlete regardless of sport all time.
Yeah, I think that's done.
Is it done?
That's easy.
Is it? That's not a scorching hot take that really even needs to be discussed.
No
it's
question.
very simple. Okay, so good for her, and we'll continue to talk about that. But yeah, a lot going on now as things are starting to ramp up. And joining us as he does each and every Tuesday to talk about some of those things, J.C. Shurburtt. But J.C., before we get into Carolina athletics, where are you with the Olympics? Because Preston had a hot take yesterday that I don't think I agreed with. He was anti-fencing. And see, that's what I think the Olympics are all about. Fencing and water polo and handball. Sports I have no clue what's occurring.
You want me to be honest, perfectly honest?
You've not watched a minute of the Olympics, have you?
Well, I mean, not after the opening ceremony.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm done. and look, it's not that I'm not supporting our athletes or anything like that. I just think like a lot of other international governing bodies, United Nations is an example of this. They've sort of, how do I say this? I don't think they align with mainstream American values. And so, and it's not just the ceremony, it's just a lot of other stuff too. I mean, so, yeah, I'm not boycotting, but I'm not going out of my way to watch it. I did see Asia had such a good game on the highlights and stuff, and very happy, obviously, that her and the women's basketball representation and everybody else from South Carolina and really the rest of our country is doing well. But just for me personally, and I wasn't like a big Olympics guy anyway to begin with, so it's not a hard decision. But I just kind of turned this casual viewer off, so that's it for me.
Yeah, no, the Olympics are all about. I don't need – the rugby was interesting. I don't really need to see the sports, Preston, that we are aware of, that I know the rules to. I pull for the sports, and I say pull for, I don't know if that's the right word, but I watch the sports where I have zero clue what's happening. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm here for, so that's part of it. But we'll get into more of that later on then. 803-404-6100. We'll get back into the Olympics discussion. But football discussion underway. The other question I'll ask both of you, and I want you to think about this. I'm throwing both of you a curveball here. But I thought about this last night. If you had to do a 10 deep, because I watched the basketball tournament of a South Carolina basketball, a 2 deep, 10-player roster, then you can go up to 15. Think about it, and we'll hit back on this in another segment. Who would be your 10 South Carolina basketball players to play in the basketball tournament? Now, that puts the age. I factored in that Bruce Ellington would be up there because he'd be one of my point guards. He's now up around 32. We can't go grabbing 35. We can't go grab Carlos Powell and Brandon Wallace. I thought about them last night, but they're probably a little aged out of this thing. So think about, JC, have you even noticed this, the basketball tournament? Like last night they had Kentucky and Louisville. It was an insane scene up at Louisville.
Yeah. Are we talking about college basketball?
College? Well, yeah, it's college. So if you haven't seen it again, I went down a path last night. It's called the basketball tournament, and basically you can enter a team in, and there's 29 alumni teams that are in this thing. So like Kentucky, Preston, and JC was known as La Familia.
Okay.
So that's who you had last night, and I have to go back and see.
Was Cal there supporting his fellas?
Mark Pope was.
Oh.
Mark Pope brought the Kentucky basketball team.
That's called recruiting.
And so, JC, like last night, Kentucky had like guys like Willie Cauley-Stein and Eric Bledsoe. They had the Harrison brothers. They had other former Kentucky standouts that are really not playing NBA basketball anymore. But it took me down a path of if you could make over the last, from say about 2010, maybe I almost went to 2012, but 2010 to 2012 to today, who's not in the NBA, who would you take? Think about that. Y'all kind of rack your brain with that, and we'll get into that. But, JC, I'll ask you something far more up your wheelhouse here. It is going to be a big recruiting weekend. South Carolina comes off of their recruiting cookout. Did not land Malik Clark last Thursday, but this Friday and Saturday, you've got Kendall Daniels, Jared Smith, and Jalen Gilchrist. What is your overall feeling of recruiting right now?
Well, I mean, there's been some bumps in the road, obviously, with Malik Clark was a surprise. I think it shocked a lot of people. I think the Gamecocks are going to still kind of circle back and maybe try with him. And, then, of course, there's two really good receivers in Columbia for 2026 that they're in on, and that position's going to be fine. But big picture-wise, it kind of was more of a big picture loss if you think about it. It's you have to go back almost to the 90s, back when Florida State, Tennessee, sometimes North Carolina would come in and get players out of South Carolina the Gamecocks really wanted. And, now, you'll have some go to Clemson. You'll have some every now and then cross the border and go to Georgia. At times, like with Jalen Hyatt, with Staley last year, they both ended up at Tennessee, but, they offered Staley 9 months late, and they never offered Hyatt. So, we'll see what happens with those guys. But it was more of a traditional recruiting loss, and, kind of Carolina sort of controlled their destiny with those guys. So you really it can't happen like a bunch. With Florida State coming in and getting players that they want. That's just something that the coaches from Holt, starting with Holtz and then Spurrier and then Muschamp and Beamer so far, they've done a really good job of that. We don't talk about it enough, but they've done a really good job of keeping guys that they wanted in state. Not saying they haven't made mistakes and let guys leave that were pretty good, but that's kind of been a good trend around here. You don't want to lose that. So that's one of those things that it stings in that manner. With the other guys, Jared Smith, I think there was a lot of hope, but I think Auburn's probably going to keep him at home. Jalen Gilchrist, it's Carolina or Maryland. Anytime Georgia's on that list, you're always wondering about them and what they're going to do kind of at the last minute. But my understanding is it's Carolina and Maryland. And then with Kendall Daniels, I think he's been one that a lot of people have been sitting around waiting for him to commit to South Carolina since his visit. So I would not be surprised if that's still the case. I do think with Virginia Tech, they'll continue to push for him. I think that Carolina needs to have a pretty good year, to kind of hold on to him, because I don't think the Hokies are going to slow down, and they're the home team. So sort of like a reverse Malik Clark. So I think that if you're Carolina, you're probably hoping for two of the three, maybe one of the three if there's like a left turn at the end for Gilchrist. But Gilchrist, to me, I like him a whole lot. I mean, I think he's probably, even though he's pretty highly rated to begin with, probably like a top 50 player. I mean, you watch him on film, Bill, and you watch him bend, and you watch him. It's the first time I've seen like camp film without pads for an offensive lineman, where I've kind of been almost blown away with the way he can, bend and move and punch and all that good stuff. Well, this guy's really, really good. So if they get him, that's another very, very talented young offensive lineman heading to the program.
What does he project better at? Tackle, interior?
He's all of the above. He's about 6'4". I think any of them, tackle would probably be where I'd start him out at, to be honest, just because that's the center position on the roster currently. And South Carolina's got a lot of good young interior guys, but, either or, he's kind of a plug-and-play guy. But in college especially, I think he's probably a tackle. But, once long-term, I don't know, is he an NFL franchise tackle type? I don't know. I just think he's a really, really good player that projects to be really, really good in college.
We'll continue to talk a little bit about this as, obviously, as I said, huge weekend for South Carolina, just in terms of some of their three bigger prospects that they need to land, and we will get into that a little bit with JC. I want to go back into that offensive line discussion because you talked about these young players and get Preston's take on young players. Josiah Thompson, I know there was an article on the Big Spur yesterday that talked a little bit about could Josiah Thompson start as a true freshman. I know he's been here, but could he actually start against Old Dominion? And I want Preston's take on that. JC, we'll get your take on that as well as we roll along this morning. 803-404-6100. JC Shurburtt joining us from the Big Spur as he does each and every Tuesday. Preston Thorne, fully invested in heavy metal music. That went down a path. Exactly. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we're just a heavy metal show now on a Tuesday.
Yeah, because see, Bill, some heavy metal sounds like monsters and some sound like witches, and it depends on which type of metal you're listening to. So that's just something.
Oh my God, that is dude. That's brilliant. I mean,
there you go.
I have. That is. I've never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right.
There you go.
All right. Okay, we go. There you go. Welcome in. Welcome in.
He's a Renaissance man, folks.
Yeah, the 30th of July. 30th of July, and this is football is right around the corner. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, who's ready to help you. Another thunderstorm here it was in Lexington last night, more heavy rains. And if you've been dealing with this as well, you need to start thinking about that roof a little bit. And it's time to call Mid-State Roofing. We're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll have somebody ready to take your phone call with an on-call technician right there or a Mid-State Roofing employee. Again, that phone number, 803-356-1919. That's how you can reach out to them and get a little help, whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So don't wait another day. Give them a phone call. Talk about that roof. Maybe get somebody out there to check it out and work yourself into a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
And we're still working that earlier tie-up, I-26 westbound, just after exit 101. So heading in the upstate, or heading that direction, I-20 westbound, I-26 westbound. Good gracious. I-26 westbound one more time at exit 101, just after that. Might find a little bit of a slowdown due to an accident. And we're looking for a high today of 93. Then it really cranks up anywhere between 97 and 99 degrees Wednesday through Friday, with those heat indexes anywhere between 110 and 112. But it's not too shabby right now. It's a little bit overcast. 72 on the early game.
$7:30. 7:30. What did I just look at? 7:30 today is the date. 7:18.
I'm struggling with dates, numbers, times. It's okay.
I looked right at it, and then I was like, we haven't done 2 segments yet. Why did I say that? 7:18 as we get you up and get you going here on your Tuesday morning, counting down to the start of the NFL preseason on Thursday, Bears and Texans. Again, that'll be kind of exciting to watch. And then probably more importantly, the very first practice of the year for the University of South Carolina, year 4 for Shane Beamer. And there is a lot of questions. JC, we'll talk about Mike Furry and get your take on him as well. But first, let's start with this offensive line, because I did see, I believe it was yesterday, or I saw it yesterday, and it's an article in thebigspur.com by John Whittle, and it says, could Josiah Thompson start against Old Dominion? And let me kind of tell you real quick where we're going with this, and this will lead into the next segment with the wide receivers. We know the names of the offensive linemen, and on paper, there's a lot of talent there. 5-star Josiah Thompson, former 4-stars Trevon Ball, and Tree Babalade. Marquis Anderson was a former 4-star, and I think was one of the second highest rated recruits in the 2023 class. The talent is there. You got veterans in Vershawn Lee, Ja'Kai Moore. You've got transfers in Aaron Park and a few others, Torricelli Simpkins. We know the names. How does this fit together, in your opinion, with this offensive line?
Well, there's going to be a heck of a lot more competition, and it's the good type of competition. It's not, you're not competing with a bunch of guys you're not sure about and going, oh gosh, this battle at right tackle certainly is close, but we're worried about both of them. I mean, there's different. Competition is always a good thing, but then there's different types of competition. I thought, Bill, there's a couple things on the offensive line. First of all, players always get better. So if anybody's under the impression that, last year's performance is just going to be the same and, there's not talent, I mean, you really kind of got to look at, like, what happens in football. Preston remembers the year before he got to Carolina and the disaster that was the offensive line. Why? Because it was there were a lot of injuries. I think Langston Moore started at guard for a couple of games that year.
Yes.
On offense?
Yes.
On
offense.
In 99?
Yeah, dude, 99, bro.
Yes.
They ran on Langston out there at guard, I think, and Kevin Sides at quarterback against Arkansas got thumped. But it was ugly. But then the next year, led by people like, my friend, Preston's friend, everybody's friend, Cedric Williams. And I think Travell came in that year, Wharton. You had Watt Sanderson, guys like that. Chris White was finally healthy. No, Chris White was later on. But it was Laurel Johnson's the guy I was thinking about. But, and that was a pretty good offensive line that year in 2000. And then 2001 was pretty good as well. John Strickland, my other friend, was on 01 offensive line. And so that it got better quick. And it was because they were healthy and older. And you think about last year with all the guys that were injured and out, you think about those guys being healthy. Then you think about guys like Babalade and Ball, and Marquis was hurt in the spring, but Beamer's been pretty clear, and I've heard from a lot of different people he's the best freshman of them all last year. Would have started easily last season. So you got that, and then you got guys like Case and Henry who have been hurt most of their career who are back, and he was going to start if he was healthy last year at tackle. You got the freshman, Josiah Thompson, that's obviously pushing for time at left tackle. Cam Pringles reshaped his body. Looks really, really good, looks the part. And then the sneaky good part of it is in the transfer portal, they were very intentional about what they did on offensive line and getting some older guys that may or may not start but can provide depth. Kamar Bell is a player that came over from Florida Atlantic, started for them for, I think, 2 years, started his career at Auburn, so he was an SEC-level recruit. He had just transferred, and, so you got him. He's doing well in the interior. Aaron Parks in spring game, to me, it looked like he's at least serviceable to come in as a reserve tackle. And then Torricelli Simpkins is probably a starter. He's been much better than I think. I think if you ask the coach, he's probably much better than they thought, or somewhat better than they thought. I think when we all watched this film, we kind of thought they got a steal. And when you look at him in the spring game, I saw him in person. Body type-wise, he looks just like those guys that play for Alabama or Georgia, Michigan, name your team with a pretty good offensive line. So those portal additions, even though you look at it on paper and you go, well, they got a guy from Florida Atlantic, they got a guy from Oklahoma that's only played 7 games, and then they got a guy from North Carolina Central. The national folks aren't going to mention that. And they're offensive linemen, and 3 of them may not start. So, but I think that was kind of sneaky good because what that does is gives you competitive depth. And if you look at it, if Marquis Anderson's back and he's on the interior, and you got Simpkins and you got Bell, and then you got Ball, and then you got Vershawn Lee, and then you got Ja'Kai Moore, and those guys are all interior guys. You kind of start to wonder, there's going to be some good players that don't start on the interior. And that's positive. You need depth, as we all found out last year. So those battles inside are going to be interesting. And then the left tackle job, I think, between Big Tree and Josiah, that's going to be a one that, may go a certain way in the opener, but by the end of the year it may go another way. You just never know with that because Josiah Thompson's awfully good. But I think Big Tree's an awfully good player. I think, he showed that against Georgia last year when he was kind of thrown into the fire and did really well. He got banged up in the Missouri game. So nobody avoided the injury bugs last season, it seemed, on the O-line. So, that's what gives you hope about this spot is, it's going to probably be a different offensive line this year because the situation's different. The players are different. And I think that's a good thing when you're trying to, kind of get that position out of the ditch as it was most of last year.
Preston, what do you think's the better option for this team right now? Young guys. Now, I say inexperienced. I don't know where you draw the line on experience. Sri Babalade played 9 games last year and against some really good teams. I don't know if you still count that as an inexperience, but when you talk about Trevon Ball, Marquis Anderson, Josiah Thompson, is it better to play the young players that are inexperienced with a Lenora Sellers as your quarterback and these running backs, or do you try to go early on with the veterans who have the experience but maybe aren't as talented?
Oh, this is a good one. I think you play your best 5, however that bears out in camp, because the guys who are experienced, if you're thinking about Tree, they don't have enough experience to count them as grizzled vets. And then if you're counting those guys as grizzled vets, maybe you're Trevon Ball or any of those guys who's been around, if they get beat out, and then that's just what it is. And so you play your best 5. And you figure out a way to get everybody better. Now, hopefully, your best 5 end up being your more experienced people. That's the way you would want things to develop. But if it's not, then I don't know what to tell you. We're playing our best 5.
JC, I think you mentioned it a few times on the Big Spur. What are the odds that Tree Babalade gets beat out by Josiah Thompson, but then could move interior to a guard spot?
My question is this: Can you move him? to guard. I mean, I'm sure you can cross train him, but can you really move him? I mean, even if Josiah wins the job, because there is a lot of depth inside. Outside there's more, but it's not like three deep like it is on the interior. I mean, Ja'Kai Moore can play tackle if you need him to. I bet you can Pringle, but he's a true freshman. I think Blake Franks is going to get a shot there. On the other side, you got Parks. Would you be better served? So there's all these questions, because you got your five, and I agree with Preston. Play your best five. I don't care who it is. My guess is these guys that played last year as true freshmen are going to be a whole lot better this year, and they're talented. But so is Aaron Parks better, your best right tackle, or would you move Tree over there? It's like something happened to Casey Henry, and God forbid that happens. I just root for his sake, because he's a great kid and a tough player, and he struggled with injuries. I just hope nothing happens to him. Okay, I'm not trying to speak that into existence. I guess I would be a heavy metal witch with that, right? Should I sing it like Axl Rose? I don't know. But anyway, so you throw them. I mean, so your question is going to be: Is Big Tree? If we put Josiah Thompson at left tackle, is Big Tree our best right tackle? And is that part of our best five, or is Aaron Parks a better tackle? And should Tree go inside? And that's the question. I mean, is Babalade a long-term, probably an interior guy? Is that going to be probably his NFL position? Yeah. But right now, I still think you're kind of building at the tackle spot. That's why I think Gilchrist will be a tackle. And so that would be the question for me as far as, like, for this year's team and moving him in, is that what you do? Now, next year, when, I guess you'll lose Torricelli, you'll lose Kamar Bell, lose Rashawn Lee, lose Ja'Kai Moore, then you're looking basically for a center and two guards. And, at that point, it probably makes sense to do it if you're set at tackle. But I think guys like Cam Pringle will need a year, Blake Franks, get them up to par, and, Casey Henry will be back, and, Thompson will be back. So if you look at it that way, it may not be until 2025 if that happens. But I don't know. I love Josiah Thompson. I think we've seen elite true freshmen start at tackle in this league at places like Alabama. Caden Proctor did it last year, and he was just fine. So it can happen, and it's not crazy. It's rare, but it's not crazy. So it could happen. But I right now, though, I think Big Tree is probably going to be.
Right, hold on just a second. We got to hit this hard break. We'll come back, and we'll finish that up and get into some wide receivers. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. We just got a text message in from our good friend Robin, and the teachers are heading back to school today, at least in District 1. So you know what? That means less time to clean the house. But good news, you've got the cleaning pros at Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning to have your back. And it's time to take advantage of the Zerorez Carpet Cleaning Back to School BOGO sale. That's right, the Zerorez Carpet Cleaning Back to School BOGO sale. For a limited time, when you get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned, you get 2 rooms cleaned for free. You heard that right. 2 rooms of carpet cleaned, and you can get 2 rooms for free. You just need to mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game when you give him a phone call, 803-262-4020. Again, that's 803-262-4020. If you want to book online, ZerorezColumbia.com, just use the promo code BOGO, B-O-G-O. Or again, give him a phone call, 803-262-4020. Zerorez, clean it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Still working that earlier tie-up on I-26 westbound just after the Ballantyne exit there at exit 101. All other areas looking pretty good at this point this morning, and we are looking for a high today of 93 under some cloudy skies. Tomorrow through Friday, those are when we get the dangerous heat indexes of around 110, 112. So that's tomorrow through Friday. 95 on Saturday with some afternoon or evening storms, and Sunday much of the same. But as far as starting out your day, it's a little bit overcast and it's a little bit cooler. 72 on the early game.
$7:35 as we roll along here on your Tuesday morning. Real quick, back to this offensive line discussion. I'm interested to hear, JC, your take, and then Preston, your take real quick as well. If South Carolina were to land Jalen Gilchrist on Saturday, he's Saturday, right, JC? I'm correct about that?
I think sometime this weekend they've run together for me too.
Yeah, it's for someone who used to be pretty good at this. Yeah, I'm blanking, but I say that because Preston, you go back to your day and that offensive line under Lou Holtz, and I don't remember the player rankings back then, but you talk about the job of Lonnie Teasley and Greg Atkins here and what they have been able to do over the last few years with recruiting. South Carolina, this would have to be probably the best run of offensive line recruiting ever, maybe, JC, when you go back to adding just 4 stars, not even some of the guys that we're really intrigued by, but Tree Babalade and Marquis Anderson in 2023. Last year, Cam Pringle and Josiah Thompson, obviously 1 4-star and a 5-star. This year, they already have a commitment from Cedric Surratt out of Gaffney, and this would be adding Jalen Gilchrist. That's 6 high-end offensive linemen that would be in the last 3 classes, not counting guys like Blake Franks, Trevon Ball, or a guy that I really like just because of his size, Jatavius Shivers.
Yeah, and Ball, I don't know why he dropped to a 3-star late, but I guess it was just they had to drop somebody. But he was a former All-American, so he kind of counts in that blue chip area regardless of what the numbers say. He was a freshman All-American last year, so yeah, it has been. On paper, I've never seen this program recruit like this on the offensive line. I do think there was a class Brad Scott signed, and they ended up all being hurt. Most of them suffered injuries, some of them career-ending. Back in the mid-'90s, it was very promising, a lot of blue chippers in that class, but that was back when there was no uniform rankings and things like that. So kind of in the internet era, which would be since maybe 2000, yeah, I have not seen South Carolina recruit this many blue chip offensive linemen ever. And it's been both in and out of state, too. Now, they've been blessed because, not every year you get a Pringle and a Thompson from within the state. And a lot of times you don't get both of them. You think about some of the high-end offensive line prospects in the state of South Carolina, Brandon Shell. Obviously, Carolina got him. But then Alex Barron back in the day went to Florida State, not to – bring that up again. But,
thanks, JC. Thank you, JC. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but he was really good. But it was, it was one of those things. But no, there's been a lot of them. And then for 2026, you already have 4 offensive linemen within the state with maybe 5 with legit Power 5 offers. And so for some reason, this state is it's been a little light at D-tackle. But offensive line-wise, the state has kind of had a nice run, and we know that when the state's on a nice run, that's usually good for the Gamecocks, and it certainly has been with that position. But Trees from Maryland or DC, and Trevon's from Atlanta, and Gilchrist obviously is from Virginia Beach, the 757. So, there's been a lot of out-of-state recruiting they've done with that group as well, and I think that's kind of the blend you need. But, yeah, Lonnie Teasley's a very, very good recruiter. I mean, he does a great job building relationships. I think he's got a whole team over there of graduate assistants. Greg Atkins helps. So it's kind of a team effort, the quote, hashtag trenches, and they do a fantastic job. I mean, I can't really say enough good about the job they've done in recruiting.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned, I know Sam Serby is a guy behind the scenes that is it really is a very
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
It's been very impressive. Moving over to the wide receivers, Preston, you were bringing up Mike Furry earlier.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious. Well, first of all, before we move on, I have to say when we talk about freshman linemen, I have to bring up my brother in arms, Travell Wharton, who is arguably one of the best linemen to play in South Carolina. And I always bring up this statistic to talk about freshmen playing early, but Travell gave up a sack in his second game in a uniform and did not give up a sack for the rest of his career. So he played 45 straight games without giving up a sack. And I always bring up Travell because Travell is not somebody that, if he was to line these dudes up in a line and just pick, like, I want him, Travell might not be a guy that you pick because he's not overly impressive physically. He's not especially aggressive. It's not anything that you would say that you would want. He just could block people, and he was just a very extremely efficient offensive lineman. And so all these offensive linemen may or may not have different strengths, and a lot of times you can't necessarily tell just because somebody passes, the eye test. Because I would say Travell was fine. Obviously, he played in the NFL, but if he was to take the eye test,
Just look at him.
you'd be like, okay, I guess. And then he would just go out there, and then he's not. And then the other thing he's not going to do, he wasn't going to pancake people into the ground, and he wasn't going to drive people like the blind side off the sidelines. He didn't do any of that. He just would block his person effectively for 3 years in college, 10 years in the NFL. And I wonder if any of these guys would end up just being a workman-like type lineman where you may not even notice them throughout the game, but they just continuously show up and do their jobs.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, Michael Orr, crazy thing. My first assignment at Rivals.com in 2005 was to cover his press conference when he committed. It was before the movie and all that, to Ole Miss over Tennessee and Coach O. And we went over there to Memphis and all that. It's kind of weird because the Tuohys own all these Taco Bells, and so it was in this big glitzy headquarters. Anyway, long story short, Michael Orr, you look at him and you don't go, wow, that's a great-looking dude, but he can play.
Yeah.
So kind of like that. And I remember Travell. I mean, Travell was not a very highly rated guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny because Carolina got 2 offensive linemen out of Hillcrest, Simpsonville. I guess this is Hillcrest now because there's no more Dalzell. But he was like a 2 or 3 star. That's back when they gave 2 stars. And then Javon Meredith was like a 2 star, and they both ended up being starters and in the NFL. I mean, it was crazy. But Travell's one of the greatest of all time.
For sure.
Mean, he was outstanding. And it was a surprise, but normally, if you do get a true freshman that starts up front on the offensive line and it's not out of necessity, that guy's going to be really, really good for a long time. And some guys are just clicks. So the eyeball test, I'll throw another witch reference in there because in the beginning of Macbeth, there's witches in the play.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a line in Macbeth that says, beware the Ides of March. Beware the eyeball test. For in the sport of football,
I like
it will forsake you.
I like it.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We will get a final discussion on these wide receivers here. Just some quick thoughts from J.C. Shurburtt. Also, just what he is looking to hear this weekend through the first few days of preseason camp. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Are tax troubles weighing you down? If so, you don't need that stress in your life. It's time to move on, and you start moving on by contacting John Ecton and his team. Whether you're in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, somewhere else around this great state, the Ecton Law Firm has a local team dedicated to resolving your income and business tax issues for good. So call today for a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. At the Ecton Law Firm, they understand the challenges you are facing, and that's why they want to help you navigate the IRS maze. And they've helped thousands of families with, again, proven local solutions that will get this stress taken off of you. So call today. Call John Ecton and his team. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-771-9800. You can visit them on the web, ectonlawfirm.com. That's the John Ecton Law Firm. Call them today. Get that stress-free life started. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the Mid-State Roofing family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and they're ready to help you today. They think about roofs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are there with a maintenance contract. You can give them a phone call, and you'll speak with either an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee, and that is exactly why they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, because they know what they're doing, and while you might be thinking about other things, they're thinking about your roof and making sure it's keeping your operation dry and running long into the future. So whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that, again, will keep your business dry and running long into the future. Make that phone call today, 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. $7:48 as we get you up and get you going here. Final segment with J.C. Shurburtt as we are trying to cover a lot of stuff before the start of fall camp. A lot of good discussion this morning on the offensive line, the recruiting of the offensive line, the development, and what appears to at least be some position battles. Now, we'll know more about this offensive line. I say after the first 3 weeks, when you obviously if you need to shove around Old Dominion a little bit. how you hold up against Kentucky and LSU will be seen. But, JC, one of the other things the press and I discussed a little bit this morning was Mike Furry and the room he now steps into, which, I mean, it's a complete unknown. I don't know if I ever remember South Carolina having an unknown wide receiver room like this. I mean, at least last year we thought Juice Wells was coming back, and then we'd figure out somebody behind him. You know, there's always been somebody. You can go through that list there of Pharaoh Cooper, and then I think it went to, and then Brian Edwards came in, but I think there was somebody that year. Then it was Shi Smith after that. South Carolina's had a nice run of lead guys, and for the first time I can remember, there is not that guy that we look at this year and is like, all right, that dude will catch some passes.
Yeah, like Debo, Brian Edwards, Pharaoh, Debo, Brian, Shi. 2020 and 2021. 2020 they were shy. That was about it. 2021 was a challenge. Josh Vann really stepped up that year. 2022, when you look at it, look back on it, I mean, there's a lot of really good players in the receiving room. And then last year, this year, well, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is it's always better to have knowns rather than unknowns. And that means guys that have done it at your school that, you can go count on. That's what you hope for. And it's not always what you get. The good news is, it's not similar to 2020 or 2021 where you're like, well, you got one guy that you like and two guys that you can go to, but then other than that, expectations are not high. They've got a lot of potential in this group. I think that Delvon Campbell, who they got from Nevada, could end up being a player. Vontravius Jacobs at Florida State, you talk to people down there, they loved him. He was probably going to start for them this year had he not come to South Carolina. Kind of one of those people that needed a fresh start, which happens. Tyshawn Russell has made strides over the summer, and I thought route running and speed-wise, he was fine last year. He just had a case of the drops, which a lot of those guys I just mentioned at times in their careers had cases of the drops. So that can get fixed. There's the one thing I like about this group is there's a lot of speed. And that's been something that Tony Morrell reported on our site the other day. The staff really likes the fact that, these guys can run. And I'll always take speed over size at receiver. I think you can get in trouble with lumbering players that are just tall at that position because, in this league, the defensive backs are all pretty fast. So I'll take speed over size. And then with the size thing, I mentioned Campbell, and then you do have Nick Harbor. And if they can increase his output, I thought he had some good moments last year. If he can be more consistent, and I think the key for him is to break some tackles, get upfield, yards after catch, that kind of thing. Because I think he did a really good job catching the ball last season. You can have a group. I mean, and then there's the tight end. So, I am highly curious to see how it shakes out because there's 10 different guys you could realistically say that guy could be a starter against Old Dominion, like 10. and that's a good thing in some ways. You don't know how good they're going to be against the competition until they play, but internally you got some guys, you got some speed. So that's going to be something for the coaching staff to work out. I don't think you can rotate 10 in a game, probably 6 or 7, but we'll see how it goes because there's you talk about competition on the offensive line. There's a ton of competition at receiver, and there's really no discernible favorites right now. I thought based on spring, Gage Larvadain, Mazeo Bennett, probably Russell would be your 3. But Harbor was not there in the spring, as we know, and some other stuff. So we'll see sort of what happens. But I think they did a good job getting the pieces in place. It's just a matter of how it shakes out.
How many wide receivers, Preston, do you think is a viable rotation in a game?
7.
7?
7, depending on how much, obviously depending on formations, if you're running 3 wide, 4 wide, whatever formations you're running, but maybe I'd even bring that down to 6. Maybe I'll bring that down to 6. I was just thinking 4 wides, but that's the thing about this offense. It's unknown. We don't know what types of sets they're going to be coming out in. We don't know how many tight ends they're going to be utilizing. So that's why there's a lot of curiosity there. My question would be, and I don't know if, JC, you have any insight into this, but do we know what Mike Fury really values out of his receivers? Because different coaches value different things. Do we have any insight into what he finds very important in a wide receiver room?
I think he's real big on the technical part. I obviously haven't coached in the pros. You don't do as much developing at that level. You know they're kind of. I don't say they're all the way developed. I mean, you do get guys better, but boy, in that league, you know, if it's 8 yards and cut,
right,
you better go 8 yards. You know, kind of like Steve Spurrier when he was here. You know, if the play said 7.5 yards, you got to hit it exactly at receiver. Receiver was the hardest position to play in Spurrier's offense, and so, you know, that kind of thing. I think he'll be a stickler for details, but at the same time, just looking at it and knowing what I know of him, he values hard work. He values doing things the right way. He values going 110%. So I don't think you'll see any kind of guys mailing it in
right
that are on the field under Mike Furry. Sorry.
Furry.
I don't know. I like Fury better.
Fury's cool, dude, but it's Furry.
Yeah,
it's Furry.
Next week we'll have some camp stuff to actually discuss and get opinions on. We always appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Thanks, Preston.
Appreciate
Have a great day.
Hour 3 on the way. It's the early game.
Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone-on-bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff that you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain, and I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. So learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, and restore mobility, and give you long-term relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. The local professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments. So call for a free consultation at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
I-20 westbound, just after Clemson Road, the right lane is currently blocked, so you're going to want to get left there at exit 80 and I-20 westbound there at Clemson Road. The right lane is blocked. Also, I-26 westbound after exit 101, still working that earlier tie-up and trying to get that cleared up for you. And we're looking for a high today of 93. Clouds will be kind of on the uptick a little bit. And tomorrow through Friday, those are going to be the hot days. Highs from 97 to 99, but those heat indexes anywhere from 110 to 112. So definitely alert days tomorrow through Friday. Then we might see some rain this weekend with some scattered thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. It is fair and 72 right now.
The television has turned from swimming to volleyball. Men's volleyball, Preston Thorne. I believe this does not look like, given that he's bouncing the ball. Yes, this is on the court, not on the beach. It is the USA versus our well-known arch rival in volleyball, Germany. And we are up.
Let's go.
We were up in the second set. We lost the first set, I believe, is what I'm saying. I don't know. I had yet to figure us out. But Olympics, I enjoy it. I enjoy it because I don't enjoy it for the basketball or for the sports that I actually watch. I enjoy it for the sports that I don't watch. And look, yesterday, the men's gymnastics, the one time in 4 years, I will watch the men's gymnastics, and it was a lot of fun. And I kind of felt I made a bad comment, and I need to apologize to the men's gymnastics team.
Okay.
Because yesterday they celebrated a bronze.
Yes.
And they celebrated it. I hope the people that love me celebrate my presence as much as those three those boys celebrated winning a bronze medal, because I was like, we're America. We don't celebrate third place.
Yeah, but it's the first time they won since 2008.
I did not realize only the third time since 1992.
Yeah.
And you say won. The first time we've gotten a medal.
Sniff the stand.
Right.
We don't do this.
Right.
It's not something that we do very well. There's a lot of countries that do men's gymnastics a lot better than we do. So, yes, third place was an accomplishment for this group.
I did not realize that until last night. And I was watching, but as it was happening, I was like, these guys are really fired. Like I'm trying to think. Whoever it was, I think it was China that finished second.
Yeah.
And I felt like China was worried to go home.
Very disappointed. there might be some. Well, yes, knowing what we know about China, there will be some people to answer to.
So and then it was Japan who pulls it off. I believe that's right, because China had a slip and fall on the bars.
Yeah. Just a side note, the pommel horse. What a dangerous game for men, for people. Period. But for that's the story of the whole gymnastics. Like, if you have the guts to do this on the pommel horse, gold medalist in my opinion, because that is dicey to say the least.
Has your wife not had you try that?
She doesn't do a lot of men's gymnastics, so they don't have the pommel horse. They have a beam, which can give you the same effect,
correct,
obviously. But the pommel horse just seems very dangerous. I don't know any other word to describe it.
Yeah.
But it's
life altering.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, obviously you can have a similar effect on the beam, but that pommel horse is pretty wild.
It was a lot of fun yesterday. And again, because here's the thing. I'm sure 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years in 2021 when they moved, I probably watched it. And you're watching the scoring system and everything and how it's bouncing all around and it's crazy. That's honestly why I enjoy the Olympics. I'm watching something I have no clue about, and I'm only entertained for 2 weeks, and then I'll completely forget about it the day that the day that it ends.
Yeah.
Like, I will totally forget. People call and be like, "Hey, what'd you think about that handball match from 3 days ago?" And I'm like, I don't remember.
That's
that
the point.
at
You
all.
just get it. You just get into it. Well, today the big dogs will be taking the stage, and the women's gymnastics team will be going for gold at 12:15 today on NBC. So that'll be one to check out. Not as big of an upset as the women's basketball team if they don't win, but they are pretty much slated to. I wouldn't expect them to not win a gold, though. Let's put it that way. They should be with Russia doing what Russia does, and doping. They're not really involved in the Olympics, so that's the main competition. That being said, the U.S. women's gymnastics team should pretty confidently secure gold in the team competition today.
And also, I don't want to pick on the young man, but the Steven Netarasic who came
the
in.
nerd?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to pick on him, but
Clark Kent?
he literally just solves Rubik cubes and does them but what he did yesterday, and that's awesome, and that's what makes it a great moment, because the name Steven Netarasic we'll never know again. I'll never know again. And they showed his parents there in the stands, and it was really, really cool to see. And like I said, I thought those guys were as it happened, I thought they were a little too geeked up to win a bronze, and then I understood, we, America, do not win many medals, not golds. Not golds. We don't win many medals.
Period.
And that was a lot of fun yesterday.
I mean, really, that was back when it was Michael Phelps and Lochte. Is that his name? That was a strong time for us. But yeah, that's just not been a consistent thing that I understand as far as.
Well, yeah. So when you see then you're seeing the swimming sort of advancing. Took a slight downturn. Again, we expect these athletes to compete forever, which is another thing that is so amazing about Simone Biles. She's also 27, and so that is way out of the prime age for gymnasts. But also Katie Ledecky, older, she finished third, and she kind of a little bit of an upset. But again, these people get younger and faster every Olympic cycle. And I think it's when you get a little older, you just don't want to. You might try to train as much, but you actually have a life outside of the pool or the mat or whatever. And so then you think it gets a little bit more difficult for them.
And the female athletes, okay, so Simone Biles is now married. So then the thoughts of, okay, are we going to start a family? Well, that kind of alters, just a smidge.
100%.
Pretty sure she's not going to be, flipping in the air if she's, 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, this will... Can't say never, but this is probably the last time we'll see Simone on the international national stage. So she's going to compete for team gold, and then they'll be doing all around also. Also, SEC represents Suni Lee from Auburn. Should be representing, so she'll be going against that. It's USA is well positioned in women's gymnastics.
I'll say I've not gotten up early enough to check out this, but already this morning they have had the 10M air pistol mixed team bronze medal match.
Okay.
The 10, I say, and this is why I enjoy it, because I don't know what I'm reading to you. I don't know what I'm trying to explain to you.
Isn't the M for meters?
I assume, but I don't know.
Are they running these meters? Are they riding these meters? Basically, but the thing is, somebody is going for the biggest moment of their athletic career today.
Something that you spent your whole life, I assume,
and that's awesome,
training for. Is going on. Judo is taking place today with a bunch of bronze medal and with a bunch of bronze medal matches. Preston mentioned it. Women's team final 12:15 today for gymnastics. Yes, I'll actually try and. I got to run this back. I'm going to run this basketball camp again over at Saxagatha Church with Bailey Harris from 9 to 12 later on this morning. But after that, I will try and sprint home and catch that. But Preston, here's the good one. 1 o'clock today. 1:30, excuse me. Women's EP, I guess, team bronze medal match in fencing.
Team fencing?
Team, it says team.
But I need to look up that word because I saw that before, that EP, whatever it is. Yeah.
EPEE.
Yeah.
And then there's a gold match at 2:30. So we got some golds. And the reason I had to look it up is we got a text in here from David, and he says, I could be mistaken, but I think the U.S. won gold in fencing yesterday also.
Am I back? Am I back on fencing now since we're good at it? I mean, if we're good at it, I'm in. I'm here.
But I did learn that word epee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with is the largest and heaviest of the 3 weapons used in the sport of fencing. So I would guess also part of the sport is, the weight. So I suppose that's
maybe
upright.
maybe I'm just an epee guy. Maybe when I was watching the other fencing, the little switches were a little bit too flimsy for me. Maybe when I watch epee, it might be my thing. And if we're good at it, let's turn it up.
It does appear we have won 3 medals in fencing. We've won a gold, a silver, and a bronze so far.
Let's go.
France has 4 and Hong Kong has 2.
Let's do it.
So there you go. Just as I read this, it just says the thrilling, historic Olympic fencing final that proved this sport should be.
You know what, Bill? I've just discovered something. I was watching foil fencing, and I was looking this up. Foil, you can only touch your opponent's torso, but in epee, you can touch anywhere on your opponent. So maybe that's my thing. Maybe that's why I wasn't into it. I'm sorry, fencing community. It's the foil people that I'm not into.
Well, wait a minute. So I'm just reading again. This is why I enjoy, because we're learning.
In epee, you can get them in the head.
Yeah, it was said with a flick of the wrist and a exultant scream, a 30-year-old medical student named Lee Kiefer made history when she became the first American fencer to win gold medals in foil fencing at 2 consecutive Olympic Games.
Not a foil guy.
Well, there you go. So
only epee for me.
That was so there you go. There's a little bit of a breakdown on it today. A lot of swimming taking place later on today, by the way, as well. The women's 100-meter backstroke final coming up at about 3 o'clock. That'll be followed by the men's 800 meters of swimming.
What are we doing? 800 meters? That's 2 times around a track. Have you ever tried to run an 800-meter race? What are we doing? And now I got to swim? I'm going to drown.
Because all of the energy that was in my muscles, it's completely depleted.
I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to swim.
These are just
800 meters?
These are just gold medal matches today, gold medal events. And then at 4 o'clock today, the men's 4x200-meter free relay final as well. And if that's not enough for you and you need to see more medals given out today, fix your dinner, get a little nap in. We got some surfing medals being given out today.
Tonight.
8-12 surfing. Men's bronze medal match for surfing. The women follow that. The men's gold match takes place at 9:34 and the women's at 10:15.
Do they set the times of those based on
Those are in Tahiti. And I don't know. Well, that's a great point as well.
Good question.
But I've also heard that all of that there is actually a little bit dangerous. Like it's kind of like extra level. So I guess if you get a gold in that, you're extra.
You deserve it.
Gold and a half.
I do think that you release the sharks. There's a lot of things I think we can do with the surfing that make it more friendly television. That's why you'd put it kind of in the later evenings when the kids have gone to bed, though.
I got you.
So there you go. There you go. There's one of your Olympic updates as far as what's going on. We'll tell you a little bit about the Braves as well. They made 2 big trades yesterday. Preston Thorne, 2 big trades. All right, they're going to try and go for it here. We'll talk a little bit about that and get back into some football discussion as well as we roll along this morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years they've been the continued leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's their proven history that is your assurance that the professionals at Mid-State Roofing will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. And they'll do it in a manner that's both safe and pleasing to your operation. And I want you to think about that for a second. At Mid-State Roofing, proper advice, service, and results. Because let's be honest, how many of you are willing to hop up on that roof and go fix any of the issues that you may have? How many of you really know what you're doing? You need to go with the professionals, from high rises to From high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. And they do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee, and we'll get you into a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
I-20 westbound after Clemson Road, an accident reported there. I-26 eastbound at exit 102, the right lane is currently blocked, and it is showing that westbound also has an accident right there at exit 102. So slow going, I-26 east and westbound there at around Lake Murray Boulevard. I-77 northbound at Bluff Road, we do have a report of an accident, and I-77 northbound at Shop Road, also a tie-up. So again, some slowdowns, I-77 northbound as well. Be careful out there this morning. 93 for your high today. We start that heat stretch tomorrow. Heat index is around 110, and that continues for 3 days to get us through the rest of the week. Right now, though, 74 on the early game.
8:19 as we roll along. Text message coming in on the old personal text line from our good buddy Saki, who we hope to see out at our 107.5 The Game golf tournament coming up August 23rd. You need to call out to Charwood now and get registered, 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000 as we will get out there and enjoy another fun Friday morning. It's a Friday morning, 803-755-2000. That's how you can call Charwood Golf Club today to get registered for our 107.5 The Game golf tournament. That'll lead us into the opening weekend of football, Preston Thorne. But Saki, who we always enjoy seeing and hanging out with out there, texted and said, tell Preston to try a 2.4-mile swim in the Ironman.
Yeah, and you got to do swimming first, right?
I don't know.
I think you do swimming last. You serious? You want me to run, get off a bike, and then swim? I'm not going to make it around that turn. Not going to make it. Impossible. What are we doing? That's ridiculous.
Mad respect for those who
For
do.
sure.
For sure. Awesome to you. Good job. But, yeah, Saki saying the 2.4-mile swim in Ironman seems a little unnecessary. But, yeah, go get registered for our 107.5 The Game golf tournament out at Charwood Golf Club. That'll be, again, August the 23rd, 803-755-2000. Call out today and get registered. Little message board mayhem for a minute. And, Preston? Oh, Coach Harris weighs in. Coach Harris says, swim first.
Oh, okay.
Then bike,
yeah. All right.
Then run.
All right, that sounds better. Like, we have to swim first. We can't be putting people in the water after they've already run and biked. They can't do that. There's no way.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right.
Swim,
I feel
bike,
better. I feel better. I mean, I'm not going to make it, but I feel better.
Sounds more like a swim, fall over the bike, and then crawl to the destination that you're going. A little message board mayhem this morning. Preston, here you go. When you lose a recruit, when a recruit gets flipped, what is the natural?
Let me go to my flow chart. I think I still have it on this one. Well, the first thing you got to look at is their NIL program in modern day college football.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Then if you lose them, then you obviously say that they weren't a fit for our culture.
Good point.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And third, then you say that well, we didn't really want them anyway.
That's exactly right.
3 for 3?
Well, 2 of 3. I'll give you the third. The third is also, well, the third kind of ties back in with number 1. But yesterday, Georgia flipped 4-star cornerback Dominic Kelly. Now, mind you, they have also flipped 4-star former South Carolina recruit Shamari Earls. But yesterday, 4-star defensive back from IMG in Florida, Dominic Kelly, flipped. Now, he's a 2026 prospect, so a lot of time. But that's not why I'm not really reading this because of I'm reading this because, yes, Southern Cal fans on the message board, a little message board mayhem here. One Southern Cal fan says, maybe our strategy is to drain Georgia's NIL as we stare into our bank account admiring our financial growth. So, again, right there, just kind of convincing.
Yeah, the poor folks at USC.
There's another one. Just says, leverage you.
There we go.
So just two Southern Cal fans out of 4 saying that Georgia's NIL money just outweighing going to Southern Cal. Mm-hmm. Another one goes with reason number 2, didn't fit our culture. You have to be shameless, so shameless to commit to Georgia these days. Kirby is overseeing a crime-ridden cesspool that would even make Urban Meyer squeamish.
Slow down. Let's slow down a little bit. Yes, they have a little bit of it. They have an issue that's happening right now, and they did have a player who will be punished by the extent of the law. But come on now, we know what was happening at Florida.
So you hit one, you hit NIL, you kind of hit that's not our culture kind of guy, and then the third one, this person's just angry because Kirby Smart can't scout defensive recruits. He has to flip Lincoln Riley's.
Yeah, the well-known bastion of defense, Lincoln Riley, right? The well-known arbiter of who plays defense well. Let me figure out what Lincoln's doing on defense.
Yeah, there you go.
You can either go with Kirby or Lincoln with your defense play. I wonder what that's going to be.
There's a little message board mayhem for you yesterday as Georgia flips Dominic Kelly, a 2026 4-star recruit that's a defensive back as well. And Kelly had been committed to the Trojans since March, but didn't bother Georgia from flipping him. A little message board mayhem this morning. Another note yesterday in the world of Major League Baseball, we'll talk a little bit more about this on Thursday, but the Braves Well, they get smashed last night. That didn't go well for the Braves. But yesterday they acquired outfielder Jorge Soler, I believe is how you say it, and right-handed pitcher Luke Jackson from San Francisco. This will bring back two players that were instrumental in the 2021 World Series win. Soler had the huge Game 6 home run that I think, what was the distance on it? I've got it right here, that traveled something like 5,000 feet. Hit 446 feet in Game 6 in the championship winning thing, and won the World Series MVP. Preston,
I don't know whether this is lazy or brilliant. I don't know. It was just like, hey, Jorge, what you doing, man? You want to come back for a little while? Did you enjoy your time here? Sure, let's come back.
Soler is, as it said, his longest home run of the season came last week. He's 32 years of age. Hit a 478-foot bomb last week. Has a dozen home runs in the year, but he's batting like a Brave bats right now. 240 on the season. I would have to go in. I did not dig enough into his contract. The one thing about this is that you look at it, the Braves are going to owe him some money. The Braves will assume the remainder of his contract this season, as well as the $26 million he's owed on the free agent deal he signed with San Francisco over the winter. Now, the Braves have everybody kind of locked in as they want, but to me, you got to be a little careful here.
Yeah, like I said, I've been trying to figure out whether or not I would do this. I don't think I would have done this particular deal because I'm not. What does this do? Does this just feel like it just adds more to the end of the payroll without actually giving a guarantee that something's going to change in the standings?
My thing is they're not going to win the World Series. And this was a team that came in expecting and planning to win the World Series, and that's not going to happen now. They get to the playoffs, which I guess is awesome. Luke Jackson, by the way, comes in right now. He's been throwing the ball better in July. He struck out 13 over the last 9 innings, and he's walked just 1. But on the season, he's got a nice round figure of 5.40 ERA with 33 strikeouts against 15 walks in the 35 innings he's pitched. Braves pitching is right now still very stellar. It has baseball has Major League Baseball's lowest ERA. The bullpen, not overall pitching. The bullpen has the lowest ERA in the National League by more than 0.4 of a run at 2.90.
Yeah, it's just a matter of whether that's going to hold up, and I don't know if it will, considering the injuries are stacking up.
So we'll see what happens there as the Braves make a move and kind of go. But again, last night Braves get slapped around by the Brewers, and this is a pivotal series here. Now, the Mets won last night as well, so if you're just wondering the current standings, the Phillies got drilled by the Yankees, and the Yankees, who have been struggling mightily, have now won 3 in a row, and the Yankees are now just a half game behind the Baltimore Orioles in the AL East. But the Braves now still 8.5 out behind the Phillies. Both the Braves and the Phillies 3-7 over their last 10. So number one, Braves have missed an opportune time to rise up the standings there and catch up with them. But if you look at the wild card picture right now and the 3 wild card teams that will advance out of both leagues, in the National League, the Braves are a half game in the lead of the wild card, so they would technically be the 4 seed. The Mets and the Padres are tied right behind them, and then the Diamondbacks are right there at it as well. They're a half game back of being into the wild card, so it's a 4-team kind of race. The Cardinals and the Pirates are both 2 back. So Braves, I guess, looking at it going, hey, let's make the postseason. Let's keep some of our momentum going and not miss the postseason for a year.
Well, very similar to the NBA right now. Baseball has been really wild once you get to the playoffs. So I feel like if you can just get there, anything can happen at that point. So I guess that's their strategy.
Go with what you can go. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so. We'll get back into some football. We also discussed Asia Wilson. We'll talk about her again when we come up in the next segment. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, where it's time for you to take advantage of their back-to-school sale. Let's be honest, kids are going back to school, and if you're a teacher and you're going back to school now, you don't have time to be cleaning the house. You need to let the cleaning pros at Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning do it. And for a limited time, when you order 2 rooms of carpets cleaned, you can get 2 rooms cleaned for free. You heard that right. 2 rooms of carpet cleaned, and you will get 2 rooms cleaned for free when you call Zerorez. 803-262-4020, and you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Also, you can go online and book ZerorezColumbia.com. Use the promo code BOGO, B-O-G-O, and you'll get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned for free when you have 2 rooms cleaned. That's 803-262-4020 or booking online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Don't forget to mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, to take advantage of this buy one, get one free offer. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Taking a look at those traffic conditions out there this morning. I-20 westbound after Clemson Road, still an accident there. Also, I-26 westbound around exit 102, you'll find a tie-up. I-77 northbound, both at exit 5 and 6. So at Bluff Road and Shop Road on I-77 northbound, do be careful and expect some slowdowns. And we're looking for a high today of 93 with some cloudy conditions. Then the warm up for the next couple of days where the heat indexes will be up to anywhere from 110 to 112. And then we get the rain returning on Saturday.
.34 as we roll along here, counting down till Thursday when we get some NFL preseason football. Bears and Texans, at least excited about that. Friday when we get to the first practice for South Carolina, year 4 for Shane Beamer, and a new era really going in with Lenore.
Taking a look at those traffic conditions.
And if you want to weigh in on any of that, 803-404-6100. Let's get into a few things real quick, Preston, as we always like to get information on stuff. Let's go out to the phone lines. Patrick wants to weigh in on an Iron Man clarification. What do you got there, Patrick?
Okay, so with the Ironman, you always start with swimming, and then it goes to bicycling, and then running is always the last thing that they do.
So swimming first, bicycling, and then running. Is that the correct order?
Yes.
Yeah, they always finish that way because I've been watching the Ironman triathlon from Hawaii every year since 1990.
Gotcha.
All right.
Gotcha.
There we go. Okay. It's good information. You and Coach Harris all over. Appreciate the phone call, Patrick. Let's get back out to the phone lines. David wants to weigh in on Trey Knox and Nick Muse. What do you got for us, David?
Hey, good morning. Hope y'all guys are doing all right. Wanted to give a shout-out to Trey Knox and Nick Muse. I understand they're in a battle for a spot with the Minnesota Vikings, and it's a shame it looks like both of them can't get a spot, but it's nice to see two of them battling it out. And hope y'all have a great weekend. I'm headed to Charlotte to work with Big Show and Sid Vicious and a bunch of other guys. And I'm excited I'm going to be able to make the golf tournament this year. Hope y'all have a great one. Thank y'all for what you do.
Look forward to it.
Appreciate it. That's a cool weekend. That sounds like something.
Have
cool.
not heard the name Sid Vicious.
My guy.
In a long time.
Sid. Big Sid. Yeah. Two things. I think both of these would be very interesting to Gamecock fans. I think if you told Gamecock fans that Nick Muse and Trey Knox, 1, would be in the NFL, 2, would be battling for a roster spot, I think a lot of people would be surprised based on their performance that was here. That's why a lot of times you can't necessarily don't necessarily know what a player's NFL career is going to look like based on what they do for your team, because I think Trey Knox was fine. Nick Muse was solid, but I don't think anybody would have predicted the NFL for them. So congratulations to them. This
is from an article on Sporting News, kind of the Minnesota aspect of the Sporting News from back in May. Did not realize this. Trey Knox got a free agent, if you will, a non-drafted free agent. Trey Knox got a contract that was guaranteed $120,000. Now, in the big grand scheme of things, we just yesterday talked about Jordan Love and Tua and these contracts. 120 is not great, but $120,000 to be a undrafted free agent suggests that they have a feeling you might be something.
Yeah, well, what they'll do is they'll try and get you as an undrafted free agent, see if you'll make a roster spot. If you don't make a roster spot, they've expanded the practice squad. That's where Nick Muse has been sort of living between being on. They've expanded the amount of time that you can be on the practice squad. They used to have a limited amount of time. They've expanded that time, and now they use those spots to sort of work almost like a two-way deal where they can go from practice squad to the roster spot. So the 120 is contingent upon them making the team and all of that stuff, but making the roster as far as a practice squad guy. But it does show that they have some level of investment in them.
It goes on to say that the worst case scenario for Trey Knox this preseason has been Nick Muse and Robert Tonyan play really good football and prevent Knox from seeing the field much during preseason or in a lesser role. Says opportunities are going to be huge for Knox to show what he has, especially in the passing game, because his run blocking isn't quite there yet.
Well, you knew that. We've known that.
It goes on to say,
I'll say this. This is what I'll say.
You knew what you were getting.
Trey is glad he's not playing for Sean Elliott.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
It goes on.
Nick also.
It's very true.
Nick also.
It does say what to expect from Knox. It says, as a former wide receiver, Knox can become a mismatch in the passing game. He has the size and length to be a weapon down the field, and his explosive scores are good, which could allow him to take advantage of second-level defenders. And it says that doesn't mean Knox is going to make the team. Likely will make a practice squad and become the new Nick Muse, a developmental tight end that could end up being a good player down the line.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you kind of keep those guys on your roster, and then if they work hard, say their prayers and take their vitamins, they end up making the roster.
803-404-6100. One of the things we talked about, though, that has more than lived up to the expectation, Asia Wilson. And, again, I mentioned it. I saw the article yesterday in Rolling Stone. She goes out yesterday, has the 24-13. And it's my belief that she is truly the face of the WNBA. The intrigue is around Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. There's no doubt about that. And I know that they get more publicity right now, but I don't think they are the true face of it. Asia Wilson is the face of the WNBA, and right now, probably I think, is it fair to say the face of the women's Olympic team?
Oh, yeah, by far. Yeah, and like I said, she's, to me, I don't know how else you want to shake this down, but I think she's the most dominant athlete in the world. In her sport for sure, but maybe overall because she's winning at a consistent level at every single stage of the game. You're talking about team wins. She's two-time WNBA champion. Talk about individual wins. She's been the league MVP on several occasions. Somehow or another, she was only voted 4th last year, which I think she's taken very personally. And now she's on her way to receiving another gold medal and being the MVP of this team. And so it was also interesting because the other standout performer last night was Breanna Stewart. And I remember when Breanna Stewart came here, that was right during the changing of the guard where UConn was still on top as far as the women's basketball game. And she looked completely different than every other woman on that court. You could see like, oh, she's the best. And it's been interesting to see the progression as she's gotten older and Asia hits her prime. Asia's the best player in the league in the world, which would in turn make her the best player in the world. And I think she's the most dominant athlete in her sport.
It's very fair, and we'll see if she's able to add.
And her profile says Hopkins, South Carolina, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, the success she's had, and I'm sure as time goes on, the opportunities for her to be really continue to be honored around here.
And again, because she's personable, she's can sell, she has a great personality. I mean, there's no box that she doesn't check as far as the athlete is concerned.
So we've talked a little bit about her this morning. Again, if you haven't seen it on Rolling Stone, I saw it on Twitter, a really good article where she talks a lot about the growth of the growth of the WNBA and the women's game, not just in America, but kind of across the world. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. We've also talked a lot of offensive line this morning, Preston Thorne, and we'll get more into that, but we've also talked to Mike Furry and what he does with this wide receiver room that is, I just read a bunch of names. I mean, that's all, like, at least with the offensive line, I'm like, well, he was a 4-star. He was a 4-star. Okay, he was a 5-star. Like, there's young talent that I'm like, they just got to grow, I think, and they'll be fine. At wide receiver, I know Mazeo Bennett was a 4-star, but I look at the rest kind of like, oh.
And you know Mazeo because he's a local guy. But you're right. If you was to put these names into a random generator on, say, if it was on college football, on the video game, if they just spit out this roster, you'd be like, okay, I guess, because these names are not recognizable to a majority of even us who are really paying attention. So there's a huge question mark in that room as far as who are going to be the people that are going to produce.
803-404-6100. We will wrap things up here. Look back at what developed into a interesting music review, to call it the least.
Gojira.
And we'll get into that and wrap things up here on a Tuesday morning. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. John Ecton and his team, they have been helping families remove the stress of tax issues. That's right. If you've received some of those awful notices of intent to levy or liens that might be coming through and you're a little stressed out, you just haven't been the same, it's time to call John Ecton and his team and allow them to handle your issues. 803-771-9800. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, or Myrtle Beach, the Ecton Law Firm has a local team dedicated in resolving your income or business tax issues for good. And they understand, again, the challenge you're facing. That's why thousands of families have turned to the Ecton Law Firm, again, across this state to get them out of the IRS maze. You need to do the same today. 803-771-9800. You can get a free consultation. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Call the Ecton Law Firm today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and Mid-State Roofing have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and that's why people turn to them. Right now, let's be honest, you're not thinking about your roof. You're not thinking about any issues that these rainstorms, heavy winds, heavy hail have maybe brought, but Mid-State Roofing is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's all they think about. That's why they have been the proven leader. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web as well, midstateroofing.com, whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing to industrial. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So give Mid-State Roofing a call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you, 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Eight zero three 404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so. We'll continue to watch the Olympics here and stay fully immersed in whatever sports we have zero clue about. We thank all thank all of y'all for weighing in on the iron. So the triathlon, I guess, is, even though they don't call it the Ironman, but the triathlon is the Olympic sport for that, to which I guess they had this morning.
Yeah, like I said.
I think they went through with it. Because of there was apparently pollution in the Seine River. No sharks, though, unlike the movie Under Paris. So everybody survived.
They didn't get got by the shark, the major shark.
No shark got them. And then also earlier this morning, Preston Thorne took us down this path.
That was Gojira, French, loosely translated to Godzilla, the French metal band. Went down the path of, we've been reviewing music, and we're going to take a detour to talk about some popular French outfits. Don't typically think of heavy metal and Frenchies very often, but this is one of the most popular heavy metal bands, and I am into heavy metal. So for the rest of the week, if you want to send me suggestions, I am here because I like aggressive aggro music, and I'm with it.
I'll admit.
Aggro?
Aggro. Aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of genres of metal that I didn't know. There's death metal, thrash metal, speed metal, rhythm metal, spiritual metal, a lot of prog metal, a lot of different types of metal that I've coming on my newfound quest to become a metalhead.
I don't know what music French music we're expecting the rest of the week.
Just dance. A lot of house, a lot of dance music.
Okay.
A lot of dance, like the party.
All right. So there was that.
That was the heaviest of the music we'll be experiencing for the rest of the week.
That was something else there. Something else. 803.
I think I heard in the lyrics something about, "You are so precious. I love you so much. Let me get you some roses." Am I close?
Very fair. It could always happen. The lyrics will surprise you because they sound like Death and Destruction. Meanwhile, he's singing about, you have to find the inner light within yourself. Something along those lines. It's
Motivational metal.
It's motivation metal. I love it. Bill, they play that at the lake?
We do not. We do not. That is not.
Not lake music.
I can honestly say.
Yacht metal.
Yacht
metal. Yacht rock, yacht metal.
Yeah. Well, no, I can't imagine that being the. But who knows? Always try it once, right? Is that the
Gojira?
Yeah. So 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on Gojira. Yes, that was the path. That was the path we went down.
Yeah.
There you go. So, again, Olympics today. I kind of talked about there's several gold medal matches that are taking place. We've had a little bit of field hockey already this morning. Judo has been in full force, Preston Thorne.
Don't know much about judo. I'm going to have to read up on that. Don't know much. I get it, but I don't really understand it. So I will come back with expertise tomorrow.
Basketball and men's basketball, Spain this morning already knocking off Greece over there.
What? Big upset. Was Giannis playing?
Yes. By the way, yeah, there was. I skipped over it, but yes, Giannis, Greece went lost to Spain.
I mean, there's no more
and Greece now remains winless at the Paris Olympics, and basically it says their hopes of advancing to the men's basketball knockout stage, while not completely eliminated, essentially on life support.
That's an upset. The Saul's and up, they're done. So I don't know who's on Spain's team, but that's pretty interesting.
Memphis Grizzly forward Santi Aldama, 19 points and 12 rebounds. While they had another player who's apparently pretty good, scored 13. So there you go. With limited knowledge of all of this, but enjoy watching it and enjoy taking it in. And you've got more taking place today. There is. We get through this to get to football season, and tomorrow we'll look more at South Carolina. Might be time to take a look at that quarterback position. We all know who it is.
Robbie Ashford?
No, that's the guy in Auburn.
Okay.
And the beat writer from Georgia thinks it's Luke Doty. But and to lead into this, I like what Shane Beamer seems to have done, which is limit the discussion on Lenore Sellers. Like, what are we really expecting from him in this offense? Are we expecting it to be very run-heavy based? Do you run him a lot? How much do you take away from what he can do, Preston? It's kind of a Corey Jenkins situation to me a little bit.
It's going to be very interesting to see how Dow Loggins utilizes this, because this is not his forte as far as having this type of quarterback. He hasn't had this before, so it'll be interesting to see how he conforms his offense to this new style of play.
So we'll get into that. Well, is it his offense now, or did Sean Elliott just came in
Good question.
and hand him a playbook and said, study up, young man?
Good question.
You're going to be calling some stuff out of this. So,
Here's what we did at App State 20 years ago.
volleyball update. USA men's taking on our well-known arch rival Germany. Got all these countries mixed up. And currently we're tied 2-2 in the fifth set.
Which, by the way, we were up 2-0, so this is getting tight.
Also, we ended up losing to Spain in the field hockey.
Yeah.
Rough day yesterday. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you to JC Shurburtt. French heavy metal music. That was wild. We'll do something similar tomorrow.
It's the early game.